I never imagined betrayal could arrive, disguised as laughter. The first time, Hannah teased me for being too forgiving. I thought she was playing. We'd been married 7 years. Through tight wallets, broken dreams, and slow Sundays where we'd drift asleep. On the couch, our legs entwined, the TV murmuring in the background. I believed we knew each other's hearts even when silence did the talking. Turns out she knew mine just enough to break it exactly where it would bleed the most. It began with small remarks that bit harder than they should have. You'd probably let me cheat. She joked once at dinner with friends. Everyone laughed. I forced one too, but my chest tightened. Something in her tone didn't sound like pretend. I let it slide. That was my specialty. I was the calm one, the steady one. When she forgot our anniversary, I said, "It's all right. You've had a lot on your mind." When she came home late, trailing perfume I didn't recognize, I said nothing. When she picked fights, just to storm off, I waited for her to cool down. Forgiveness wasn't a virtue anymore, it was reflex. There's a border between being gentle and being blind, and she blurred it in every way possible. One night, her phone sat buzzing on the counter. Twice. Then silence. I wasn't the sort to snoop, or maybe I was, finally. I wish I could say I paused, but something in me had already chosen. I unlocked it. The messages weren't coded. "You're lucky your husband's so soft. He'd thank me for making you happy again. Don't worry. He'll forgive you. He always does." I stood there a long time, the fridge humming like static in a dead room. The air felt colder, the walls guilty. Half an hour later, she came home, humming, tossing her purse down, like nothing had shifted. When she saw my face, her smile trembled. "You went through my phone?" she asked, her voice shaking more from guilt than outrage. "I guess I wanted to know what I'd already forgiven," I said. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd crumble, apologize, cry, maybe say something true. Instead, she laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that stripped the last of my pride. "Oh, Luke," she said, "you make it too easy. You act like some saint, forgiving me before I even sin." That laugh, I'll never unhear it. That was when I stopped loving her. Not because she cheated, but because she mocked the part of me that loved her most. I didn't yell, didn't throw her out, just nodded and walked upstairs. That night, I lay beside her, for the last time, staring at the ceiling, realizing forgiveness means nothing. When it's ridiculed, it becomes just another word for surrender. The next morning, I woke early, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd read those words. The house we built felt foreign now, every memory tainted by noise I couldn't unhear. She came down sleepy-eyed, saw the suitcase by the door. "You're being dramatic," she said. "We can talk about this." I smiled faintly. "We could," I said, "but you'd only laugh again." That's when she realized the part of me she leaned on. My forgiveness was gone. I didn't slam the door, didn't curse or demand answers. That would only twist the blade. I packed a small bag, a few shirts, my laptop, the photo from our wedding, not as proof of love, but of what I'd endured. For a few days, I lived in a cheap motel, off the interstate, the kind that smells of bleach and quiet misery. I didn't drink, didn't call anyone, just sat in the stillness until the noise inside me cooled into something sharp and clean. On the third night, she texted, "You've made your point. Are you coming home?" I stared for a long time. No apology, no remorse, just impatience wearing pride. I left it unread. By the week's end, her tone softened. "Luke, please. I made a mistake. Let's talk." That's when I began planning my ending. Not revenge, but release. A way to show her what she'd done. Sunday morning, I went back She looked startled as I walked in,
suitcase in hand.
The kitchen gleamed, as if she'd tried to scrub away guilt. In her eyes, I saw hope. She thought I'd come to forgive her again. "Luke," she whispered, stepping forward. "I'm so sorry." I lifted a hand. "You don't need to explain. I just came to talk." Her shoulders eased. "That was our rhythm," she shattered. I repaired. "I wanted to thank you," I said. She blinked. "For what?" "For proving forgiveness doesn't cure someone who enjoys the pain they cause. It only feeds them." Her face drained of color. "I'm not here to yell or humiliate you," I continued. "You've already done that yourself. But grace, when mocked, doesn't stay." She tried to speak, but I went on. "I've talked to a lawyer. The house is yours. The car, too." "I don't want anything." "That reminds me of this version of us." Her mouth fell open. "You're what? You're giving it all away?" I nodded.
"Yes."
"But hear me, Hannah. You didn't win. You just lost the man who would have forgiven you forever." This time, her tears were real. Not the manipulative kind, but the kind that come when you finally recognize the cost of cruelty. She reached out. "Luke, please. I can change." I stepped back. "I hope you do. Just not for me." I placed the signed papers on the counter, the same spot where her messages once glowed. Then I slid my wedding ring beside them. It clicked softly against the marble, a small sound that felt louder than every argument we'd ever had. As I turned to go, she whispered, "You're really done, aren't you?" I looked at her once more. "No," I said quietly. "I'm just beginning." Outside, the air felt cleaner, colder but honest. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying the weight of borrowed guilt. I drove until the skyline faded behind me, the sun cutting through the clouds, like it was clearing a path ahead. A week later, a mutual friend called. "She's been asking about you," he said. "Says she wishes she hadn't laughed." I smiled. "Tell her I finally learned to stop forgiving the wrong people. Because forgiveness, I've realized, isn't about who deserves it. It's about who earns your peace." And for the first time in years, my peace was finally mine.